Georgia's swamp, slave escape, frontier time signatures, 19th century rural South syncopation, black protest to all chains. Ham bone spoons, backup, buck and wing, chant in Cottonfield's secret code. Blues lyric parodies decorated by banjo percussions, preceded 12-bar strains. 1928 Jelly Roll, Morton turns ragtime salty protest into hot pepper. Soon New Orleans marching band through King Oliver. He let Lewis loose, Satchmo. That horn varies field hollers to big funeral drum evolution. On vinyl, in Chicago, mostly blues on Wells, Halsted Street, then Armstrong and Bechet in New York. But you want to talk about this phase when drummers began sitting down to play, when drum sets were called traps. That was an assembling of bass drum, maybe with painted decals seen on the facing skin, usually lit up inside with a 10-watt bulb. Plus, there was a wooden-sided snare drum, offspring of the old parade drum and Indian tom-tom replica, with skins tightened by brass rim studs. But you want to talk about the way pioneer jazz drummers took origins of military percussion, and with that they scored heightened cadence, intensely syncopated rhythm and ragtime as a sort of transmogrified Marshall meter with Mardi Gras roots, sounding like a sprung shuffle, backbeat pulse, and makes you want to talk about the way the things come back in rock and roll jam, in studios, into afterbeats. Paradiddles, stabbing press rolls on snares and toms, and the things turn sideways into Jamaica with the island's jamming ska music, reggae beat. But before that, you want to talk about the symbols, symbolic time for the 1940s, and how it headlined ride rhythms behind the boppish spontaneity of the solos, always using the bass drum for offbeats and sporadic bombs. And as jazz evolved, brushes used as early as the 1920s would tend to understate the rhythm section. During more or less blues ballad excursions articulated by sprays of steel wire, fastened to metal or rubber stems so they whispered and whapped on drum skins and across an array of cymbals goosenecked over the bass tub nearby. Sock cymbals, called hi-hats, open, close, mobilized by the drummer's left foot on an attached metal pedal. So, naturally, drummers began to evolve with drum-sounding changes by using tuning keys for diverse pitches, and how they lingered at the Zildjian factory in Quincy, Massachusetts. But you want to talk about old guard players, the stick and skin end of the battery, the timekeepers in the human race, the thumpers behind the Count of Basie, the Earl of Bostic, the Duke of Ellington, when he conducted A Drum is a Woman. And Stan the Man Kenton's band, challenging dancers at the Rendezvous Ballroom in 19 1942 in any of Woody's herds. You want to talk about Dave Tuff, Louis Belson, Sid Catlett, Gene Krupa, Jake Hanna, Buddy Rich, Sonny Greer, Cozy Cole, Old Man Brooks, Shooty Singleton, Shadow Wilson, Chick Webb, Slick Jones, and Philly Joe. All the way to the bebop cannons, Max Roach, Denzel Best, Art Blakey, Panama Francis, Elvin, Connie K, Jimmy Cobb, Roy Haynes, Mousy Alexander, and Clute. With Latino boppers Candido or Chano Pozo splitting the Congolese apple, Cal Jader, Joe Morello, Chico Hamilton, Frank Butler and Shelley on the coast. You want to talk about the constantly merging studio session talent. O.C. Johnson, Eddie Shaughnessy, Jimmy Campbell, Bobby Rosengarten. But it was battery boppers who became as disconcerting a rush to traditional ears as the Charlie Parker disciples of alto saxophone salvation. Or do you want to talk about how their snare skins got finer and tighter so they produced a high-pitched rasp? So the bass drum reduced in size had a sound that became stringent and insolent. And most particularly, the ride cymbal began to emit a high, shrill whine. But you want to talk about all this drumming, maybe without forgetting the new thing, evolution to space-age modernity. Not forget the multiplication of percussive rock for fusion or crossover music. Not forget the Alphonse Mouzon or Billy Cobham translucent plexiglass tubs. Or ganged together set assembled for the electric feedback, which most incites these neoteric drummies towards amplified wars of sound, then inspire them to just plain playing time. So you really want to talk about it all, because it all has to do with that insistent throb, pounding support, stinging cymbal song, that drum beat freedom sound. It gives a headache to the guards of cultural restraint.
Ah,